Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where kindness is a virtue and being friendly is encouraged. But sometimes in our desire to be liked, we cross a line, we become too friendly. And when that happens, we invite disrespect, manipulation, and even disappointment into our lives. Friendliness is a wonderful trait, but when taken to an extreme, it can backfire. People who are excessively friendly often go out of their way to please others, sometimes at their own expense. They put others' needs above their own, always offering help, support, and kindness regardless of the situation. While this may seem like a positive quality, it can lead to an imbalance in relationships where one person is always giving and the other is always taking. When you are too friendly, people start assuming that you will always be there to help. They stop appreciating your efforts because they see them as something they are entitled to, rather than something you choose to give. What was once an act of generosity becomes an expectation. Instead of being grateful for your kindness, people begin to take it for granted, assuming that you will always be available whenever they need you. This behavior creates a cycle where the more you give, the less you are valued. People start to view your kindness as a weakness rather than a strength. They may not intentionally set out to take advantage of you, but over time they become accustomed to your constant support and stop reciprocating. In friendships, workplaces, and even family relationships, this dynamic can leave you feeling drained and unappreciated. One of the biggest problems with being too friendly is that it blurs the lines of respect. When people believe they can rely on you without ever giving back, they lose the motivation to treat you with the consideration you deserve. They may cancel plans at the last minute, fail to acknowledge your efforts, or only reach out when they need something. This kind of behavior can make you feel invisible, as if your presence is only valuable when it's convenient for others. Another consequence of being too friendly is that it can make it difficult to say no. People who are overly friendly often struggle with setting boundaries because they fear disappointing others. They feel guilty for turning down requests, even when saying yes comes at the cost of their own well-being. This leads to a pattern where they continuously sacrifice their time, energy, and happiness just to keep others satisfied. Furthermore, being too friendly can affect your confidence and self-worth. When people consistently take you for granted, you may start questioning your own value. You might wonder why others don't treat you with the same level of care and respect that you show them. This can lead to feelings of frustration, sadness, and even resentment. It is difficult to maintain a positive self-image when your kindness is not acknowledged or appreciated. Additionally, being too friendly can attract the wrong kind of people into your life. Manipulative individuals often seek out those who are overly generous and accommodating because they know they can exploit their kindness. These people may pretend to be your friends, but their true intention is to take what they can without offering anything in return. If you don't recognize this pattern early on, you may find yourself surrounded by people who drain your energy rather than uplift you. To avoid being taken for granted, it's essential to strike a balance between being kind and maintaining self-respect. Friendliness should not come at the cost of your own happiness. It is important to recognize when your generosity is being appreciated versus when it is being exploited. Setting boundaries, valuing your time, and expecting mutual respect in relationships are key steps toward ensuring that your kindness is not mistaken for weakness. Boundaries are essential in any relationship, whether personal or professional. They define how we allow others to treat us and what behavior we consider acceptable. When you are too friendly and fail to establish clear limits, people may begin to overstep those boundaries, often without even realizing it. This happens because you have not communicated where the line is, making it easy for others to assume that anything goes. One of the most common ways people overstep boundaries is by demanding too much of your time. If you are always available and never say no, others will start expecting you to drop everything for them. They may call or text at all hours, assume you will cover for them at work, or rely on you to fix their problems. While it is natural to want to help, constantly sacrificing your own time for others can leave you feeling drained and unfulfilled. In addition to time, emotional boundaries can also be violated when you are too friendly. People may start sharing their burdens with you without considering how it affects you. They might treat you like their personal therapist, unloading all their problems while rarely offering support in return. This emotional imbalance can become overwhelming, making it difficult for you to focus on your own mental well-being. Another way people overstep boundaries is by making unreasonable requests. When they see that you rarely refuse, they may start asking for favors that go beyond what is reasonable. They might expect you to lend them money, take on extra responsibilities, or go out of your way to accommodate them even when it puts you in a difficult position. Because you have not set limits, they assume that you will always say yes, regardless of how inconvenient or unfair the request may be. Being too friendly can also lead to a lack of respect in relationships. When you never establish boundaries, some people may interpret your kindness as weakness. They might interrupt you when you are speaking, disregard your opinions, or fail to consider your needs. Over time, this behavior can diminish your self-worth, making you feel as if your feelings and desires are not as important as those of others. In work environments, failing to set boundaries can result in being overworked and undervalued. Colleagues may assume that you will take on extra tasks without complaint, while managers may pile additional responsibilities onto you because they know you won't push back. This can lead to burnout, frustration, and a lack of recognition for your contributions. Without clear boundaries, you risk becoming the go-to person for extra work, often without any reward or appreciation. Socially, being too friendly can invite people to intrude on your personal space. Friends or acquaintances might show up uninvited, assume they can borrow your belongings without asking, or make personal comments that cross the line. When boundaries are not clearly defined, people may act as if they have unrestricted access to your life, leading to discomfort and resentment. To prevent people from overstepping your boundaries, you must first recognize your own limits and communicate them clearly. Being friendly does not mean allowing others to take advantage of you. It is important to be firm yet respectful when setting boundaries, ensuring that people understand what is acceptable and what is not. When you establish limits, you teach others how to treat you with the respect and consideration you deserve. Many people say yes too often because they want to be helpful, supportive, and well-liked. They believe that always agreeing to requests makes them a good friend, employee, or family member. While being accommodating is a positive trait, constantly saying yes can quickly become overwhelming. It can drain your time, energy, and resources, leaving you feeling exhausted and stretched too thin. One of the biggest dangers of saying yes too often is burnout. When you take on too many responsibilities, you can easily become physically and emotionally drained. You might find yourself juggling multiple tasks, struggling to meet deadlines, or feeling like there is never enough time for yourself. This kind of pressure can lead to stress, anxiety, and even physical health issues. The more you give, the less energy you have left for yourself. In addition to exhaustion, saying yes too much can cause resentment to build up over time. When you constantly put others' needs before your own, you may start to feel unappreciated and undervalued. You might notice that people rarely return the favor, or that they expect you to always be available without considering your own needs. This can lead to frustration, anger, and even bitterness toward those who take advantage of your generosity. Another issue with always saying yes is that it takes time away from your own goals and priorities. When you are always doing things for others, you have less time to focus on what truly matters to you. Whether it's advancing in your career, pursuing a hobby, or simply relaxing, your personal well-being often takes a backseat. Over time, This can leave you feeling unfulfilled, as if you are living your life for others rather than for yourself. Saying yes too often can also impact your relationships. People may start to see you as someone who is always available, leading them to take you for granted. Instead of appreciating your help, they may start to expect it. When you eventually try to set boundaries, they might react negatively, feeling entitled to your time and effort. This can create tension in friendships, family relationships, and even professional settings. At work, always saying yes can lead to being overworked and underappreciated. Your boss and co-workers may start assigning you extra tasks because they know you won't refuse. While taking on additional responsibilities can sometimes help you grow, constantly doing more than your fair share can leave you feeling exploited. Without proper boundaries, you may find yourself doing the work of multiple people without receiving the recognition or compensation you deserve. Mentally, the habit of always saying yes can lead to guilt and self-doubt. You might feel guilty when you do say no, worrying that you are letting others down or that they will think less of you. Over time, this can erode your self-confidence, making it even harder to stand up for yourself. You may begin to prioritize other people's happiness over your own, even at the cost of your mental and emotional well-being. To break the cycle of exhaustion and resentment, it is important to recognize that saying no is not selfish, it is necessary. Learning to prioritize yourself and set boundaries does not mean you are being rude or unkind. Instead, it means you are valuing your own time, energy, and happiness. By being more selective about when and how you help others, you can maintain a healthier, more balanced life while still being a kind and supportive person. Kindness is one of the most valuable qualities a person can have. It builds strong relationships, fosters trust, and creates a sense of community. However, not everyone sees kindness as something to be appreciated. Some people see it as an opportunity to take advantage of others. When you are too friendly and always willing to help, certain individuals will exploit your generosity for their own benefit. One of the most common ways people take advantage of kindness is by constantly asking for favors without offering anything in return. They may repeatedly rely on you for emotional support, financial help, or other resources without ever considering your needs. Because they know you are too nice to refuse, they continue to take and take while giving little or nothing in return. Over time, this one-sided relationship can leave you feeling used and unappreciated. Manipulative people often target those who are overly friendly because they know they can easily get what they want. They use flattery, guilt, or even emotional blackmail to convince you to do things for them. They may pretend to be your friend, act as though they care about you, and make promises they never intend to keep, all to gain your trust. Once they have what they need, they often disappear or move on to someone else who can benefit them. In work environments, being too friendly can lead to being exploited professionally. Colleagues or superiors may assign you extra work because they know you won't complain. They might take credit for your efforts, leave you with the most difficult tasks, or expect you to solve problems that aren't your responsibility. If you don't set boundaries, you may find yourself overwhelmed while others take advantage of your willingness to help. Financial exploitation is another way people take advantage of kindness. Some individuals will repeatedly ask for loans, favors, or free help without ever repaying the generosity. They might come up with excuses about why they can't return the money or why they need just one more favor. If you continue to say yes without holding them accountable, they will keep taking from you until you finally put a stop to it. Emotionally, being too friendly can attract toxic relationships. Some people thrive on controlling or manipulating others, and they see kindness as a weakness to be exploited. They may pressure you into situations you are uncomfortable with, guilt trip you into doing things you don't want to do, or play the victim to gain sympathy. Because you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, you might find yourself trapped in relationships that drain you emotionally and mentally. Another way people take advantage of kindness is by disrespecting your time. They may cancel plans at the last minute, expect you to be available whenever they need you, or ignore your own schedule and priorities. If you allow this behavior to continue, they will keep treating your time as if it has no value. Over time, you may find yourself constantly adjusting your plans for people who wouldn't do the same for you. Recognizing that not everyone has good intentions is not about becoming cold or unkind, it's about protecting yourself. Some people will see your kindness as a gift, while others will see it as an opportunity to use you. The key is to be selective about who you give your time, energy, and generosity to. By setting boundaries and being aware of how people treat you, you can ensure that your kindness is appreciated rather than exploited. In any type of relationship, whether it's friendship, family, or work, your presence should be valued, not taken for granted. However, when you are always available, always willing to help, and never say no, people may begin to see you as someone who will always be there, no matter what. This can lead to them valuing you less, as they assume your time and energy are limitless. One of the first ways this manifests is through a lack of appreciation. When people know you are always available, they stop seeing your presence as something special. Instead of feeling grateful when you make time for them, they expect it. They stop thanking you for your efforts, stop acknowledging your sacrifices, and take your kindness as something they are entitled to rather than something you choose to give. Another problem with being too available is that people may start prioritizing others over you. If they know you will always be there no matter what, they may begin canceling plans with you at the last minute or only reaching out when it's convenient for them. They assume you will understand and adjust because you always do. Over time, this creates an imbalance where your time is seen as less important than theirs. This issue is also common in the workplace. If you are always available to take on extra work, cover for colleagues, or stay late, your efforts may stop being seen as valuable contributions and instead become expectations. Your willingness to help becomes the norm, and instead of being appreciated, becomes something that is simply assumed. This can lead to burnout as you end up doing more work than others without receiving the recognition or rewards you deserve. In friendships and relationships, being too available can make others put in less effort. If you are always the one initiating conversations, making plans, and checking in, the other person may not feel the need to do the same. They become passive in the relationship, knowing that you will always take the lead. This creates a dynamic where you are investing more effort than the other person, which can leave you feeling unimportant and undervalued. Additionally, when people don't have to work for your attention, they may not appreciate it as much. Human nature tends to place more value on things that require effort to obtain. If you are always immediately available, responding to messages instantly, and dropping everything for others, they may start to feel that your presence is too easy to access and therefore not as meaningful. Sometimes creating a little distance can make people realize your true worth. Another downside of always being available is that it can make you lose sight of your own needs. When you are constantly making yourself accessible to others, you may start neglecting your own goals, hobbies, and personal growth. Your time gets consumed by catering to the needs of others rather than focusing on what makes you happy. Over time, this can lead to a loss of identity, where you feel like you exist only to serve others rather than to pursue your own dreams. To avoid being devalued, it is important to balance availability with selectiveness. Your time is valuable, and it should not be given freely to everyone at all times. When you set boundaries and make others respect your time, They begin to see your presence as something meaningful rather than something they can always take for granted. The key is to be present when it truly matters, rather than being endlessly available at the expense of your own well-being. Respect is something that everyone desires, but it does not come automatically. People will treat you based on how you treat yourself. If you do not show yourself respect, others will assume they do not need to respect you either. Before expecting others to value your time, your opinions, and your boundaries, you must first demonstrate that you value them yourself. One of the clearest ways to show self-respect is by setting boundaries. When you allow people to overstep your limits without consequence, you send the message that your needs are secondary. If you constantly say yes when you want to say no, or if you let others interrupt, dismiss, or take advantage of you, they will continue to do so. Establishing and enforcing boundaries is a direct way to communicate that you respect yourself, and in turn, others will learn to respect you as well. Another important aspect of self-respect is how you speak to and about yourself. If you constantly criticize yourself, downplay your achievements, or allow self-doubt to control your decisions, people will pick up on that energy. When you act as though you are not worthy of respect, people will unconsciously start treating you accordingly. Confidence in your worth and abilities encourages others to see you in the same way. Respecting yourself also means prioritizing your well-being. If you are always overextending yourself to please others while neglecting your own health, rest, and happiness, you are not showing yourself respect. People will take cues from your behavior and assume that it is acceptable to burden you with responsibilities or disregard your personal needs. Taking care of yourself both physically and emotionally demonstrates that you value yourself, making it more likely that others will value you as well. The way you allow people to treat you is a direct reflection of your self-respect. If you tolerate disrespectful behavior, whether it's being spoken to rudely, being taken for granted, or being manipulated, people will continue to treat you that way. However, when you make it clear that you will not accept mistreatment, others will think twice before crossing the line. The more you demand respect through your actions, the more people will adjust their behavior toward you. Self-respect also involves standing up for yourself. Many people avoid confrontation out of fear of upsetting others, but silence in the face of mistreatment only enables disrespectful behavior to continue. If you do not speak up when someone disrespects you, they will assume that their behavior is acceptable. Having the courage to assert yourself and address issues directly shows that you take yourself seriously, and it teaches others to do the same. Another crucial element of self-respect is surrounding yourself with people who treat you well. If you continuously associate with individuals who belittle, manipulate, or disregard you, it becomes difficult to maintain a sense of self-worth. Choosing to spend time with people who uplift, appreciate, and respect you reinforces your own self-respect and makes it clear that you will not tolerate anything less. Ultimately, self-respect is the foundation for how others treat you. You set the standard for how you expect to be treated through your actions, words, and choices. When you respect yourself, you send a powerful message that you are valuable, and that message influences the way people interact with you. True respect from others starts with the respect you show yourself. Many people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear being seen as rude, selfish, or unkind. However, establishing boundaries is not about pushing people away or being disrespectful. It is about protecting your well-being and maintaining healthy relationships. Wise individuals understand that boundaries are essential for mutual respect, personal growth, and emotional balance. Without them, relationships can become exhausting, one-sided, and even harmful. One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they create distance between people. In reality, Boundaries strengthen relationships by ensuring that both individuals feel respected and valued. When you communicate your limits clearly, you prevent misunderstandings and resentment from building up. Instead of allowing frustration to grow in silence, setting boundaries allows for open and honest conversations that improve the quality of your connections with others. Another reason setting boundaries is wise is that it helps protect your time and energy. If you are constantly saying yes to everyone and everything, you will eventually feel drained and overwhelmed. People who struggle with boundaries often find themselves overcommitted, juggling too many responsibilities, and neglecting their own needs. Learning to say no when necessary is not rude, it is a responsible way to manage your life and ensure that you have the energy for the things that truly matter. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you. If you allow others to interrupt you, disregard your feelings, or take advantage of your kindness, they will continue to do so. However, when you set clear expectations, people learn to respect your limits. Wise individuals recognize that setting boundaries is not about being mean, but about showing others how they should engage with you in a respectful and considerate manner. Many people fear that setting boundaries will cause them to lose relationships, but the truth is that only unhealthy relationships suffer when limits are established. True friends and caring family members will respect your needs and appreciate your honesty. If someone reacts negatively to your boundaries, it may be a sign that they were benefiting from your lack of limits rather than valuing you as a person. Recognizing this allows you to prioritize relationships that are based on mutual respect rather than manipulation. Establishing boundaries also helps build self-respect and confidence. When you stand up for yourself and communicate your needs, you reinforce the idea that your feelings and time are important. This self-assurance not only improves your relationships but also positively impacts other areas of your life, including your career and personal growth. People are more likely to respect those who respect themselves. Another key benefit of setting boundaries is that it reduces stress and emotional exhaustion. Constantly trying to please everyone can lead to anxiety, frustration, and even burnout. By setting limits, you give yourself permission to focus on what truly matters, rather than feeling pressure to meet everyone else's demands. Boundaries create balance, allowing you to maintain both your relationships and your personal well-being without feeling overwhelmed. Ultimately, setting boundaries is a sign of emotional intelligence and wisdom. It allows you to navigate relationships with clarity, ensuring that you are not overextending yourself or allowing others to take advantage of you. Rather than seeing boundaries as a way to push people away, recognize them as a tool that helps you build healthier, more fulfilling relationships based on mutual understanding and respect. Many people struggle with the idea of prioritizing themselves because they have been conditioned to believe that self-care is selfish. They feel guilty for taking time for themselves, fearing that they are neglecting others in the process. However, self-care is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-preservation. Just as you cannot pour from an empty cup, you cannot be your best self for others if you are constantly exhausted, stressed, and overwhelmed. One of the most important reasons self-care is necessary is that it helps maintain your physical and mental health. When you neglect your own needs, stress builds up, leading to burnout, anxiety, and even physical illness. Taking care of yourself, whether through rest, proper nutrition, exercise, or relaxation, is not a luxury, it is a necessity. When you prioritize your well-being, you become more energized, focused, and capable of handling life's demands. Self-care also allows you to set a positive example for those around you. If you constantly sacrifice your well-being for others, you may unintentionally teach them that self-neglect is acceptable. However, when you practice self-care, You show others, whether it's family, friends, or colleagues, that taking care of oneself is important. This can encourage them to also prioritize their own well-being, creating a healthier and more balanced environment. Another reason self-care is essential is that it helps prevent resentment. When you are always putting others first without considering your own needs, you may start to feel unappreciated and overworked. Over time, this can lead to frustration and bitterness, damaging relationships. By taking the time to care for yourself, you ensure that you are giving to others from a place of love and generosity rather than exhaustion and obligation. People who neglect self-care often struggle with setting boundaries. They feel guilty for saying no and end up taking on too much, leading to stress and frustration. However, prioritizing your well-being means understanding your limits and honoring them. It is okay to decline requests, take breaks, and put your needs first when necessary. Doing so does not make you selfish, it makes you responsible for your own well-being. Self-care also improves emotional resilience. Life is full of challenges, and when you are constantly drained, it becomes harder to cope with difficulties. Taking time for yourself, whether through mindfulness, hobbies, or simple relaxation, helps you recharge and face challenges with a clearer mind. When you are well rested and emotionally balanced, you are better equipped to handle stress and make sound decisions. Another major benefit of self-care is improved relationships. When you are well rested, less stressed, and emotionally balanced, you show up as a better friend, partner, parent, or colleague. You are more patient, understanding, and present in your interactions with others. Neglecting yourself, on the other hand, can lead to irritability, fatigue, and disconnection. Taking care of yourself enhances not only your well, many people believe that confidence comes from external validation, that if they make others happy, they will feel better about themselves. However, true confidence does not come from constantly trying to please others. It comes from within, from recognizing your worth, setting your own standards, and refusing to base your self-esteem on how others perceive you. When you value yourself, you no longer feel the need to seek approval or compromise your own needs just to gain acceptance. People-pleasing often stems from a fear of rejection or a deep desire to be liked. You may find yourself saying yes when you want to say no, agreeing with others even when you disagree, or constantly putting others' needs ahead of your own. While this may temporarily make you feel accepted, it does not build real confidence. Instead, it teaches you to rely on the approval of others rather than developing a strong sense of self-worth. One of the dangers of people-pleasing is that it forces you to suppress your true self. When you are constantly focused on making others happy, you may hide your opinions, passions, or personal desires to avoid conflict. Over time, this can lead to a loss of identity, making it difficult to know what you truly want or believe. Confidence, on the other hand, comes from embracing who you are without fear of judgment. True confidence is rooted in self-respect. When you value yourself, you recognize that your needs, thoughts, and feelings are just as important as anyone else's. You do not feel the need to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. Instead of constantly seeking validation, you develop an inner strength that allows you to stand firm in your decisions, even if others do not always agree with you. Another problem with people-pleasing is that it often leads to resentment. When you are always prioritizing others at your own expense, you may begin to feel frustrated, unappreciated, or taken for granted. Confidence allows you to set healthy boundaries, ensuring that you are giving to others from a place of choice rather than obligation. It teaches you that saying no is not selfish, it is necessary for maintaining self-respect and personal well-being. People who value themselves understand that their worth is not determined by how much they do for others. They do not feel the need to prove themselves by overextending, over-apologizing, or constantly seeking reassurance. Instead, they trust their own judgment, make decisions based on their own needs and desires, and surround themselves with people who respect them for who they truly are. Confidence also comes from recognizing that not everyone will like you, and that is okay. When you are secure in yourself, you do not feel the need to chase approval or change who you are to fit in. You understand that real connections are built on authenticity, not on trying to be everything to everyone. By valuing yourself first, you naturally attract people who appreciate and respect you, rather than those who only value what you can do for them. Ultimately, confidence is about taking control of your own happiness rather than relying on others to define your worth. When you stop people-pleasing and start prioritizing yourself, you gain a sense of freedom and self-assurance that no amount of external validation can provide. True confidence is not about being accepted by everyone, it is about fully accepting yourself.